Nolan is back, baby. Tenet. I just went and saw it, and it is amazing, but you may not understand all of it on your first viewing. You'll be left scratching your head, going, wait, who, what, how, why did he get here? You'll get the gist of it, but so many other little details will just keep rolling around in your head after the cinema. I mean, I just went for a 4K run, and the whole time I just kept thinking about what the film means, where it came from, or who did what, how did it end up, how did it start, all those kinds of things. Let me just say it's amazing. It's Nolan at his high concept best. It may not have all the little emotions and stuff that you normally get from films that you love, but this is not a film about emotions. This is a film about concepts. This is a film about a riveting story, a thrilling time at the cinema, And yeah, it is basically the best way to get back in the cinema. I mean, you're not going to want to watch this at home. It is a cinema experience. It is so good. And the best of all is that after the last couple of films of Dunkirk and Interstellar, and maybe even The Dark Knight Rises, I felt that Nolan kind of dipped in his, what he succeeds at doing best. He's always playing with time. He's always playing with, high concepts and these great ideas. And this is just kind of a return to form, I think. I still love those other films, but this one, it really pushes the bar much more. It's got many shades of Inception. But yeah, I'm just rolling around with it. It's just hitting back and forth through my head, this film. I want to go see it again. You pretty much have to see it again, probably to understand everything. In fact, I don't think anyone will understand it beyond this weekend. I think it'll take weeks and weeks and weeks of people seeing it and talking and discussing and actually analysing each scene and saying which came from where. So I'm just encouraging more people to go see it just so I can get more answers myself. But let's go into the specifics. All right, the acting in it is on par. It's great. There's no real emotional beat. There's no character that stands up. Robert Pattinson's very good. Elizabeth Debicki's very good itself. And of course, forgetting his name, John David Washington, I think is his name. Let's just call him Denzel's son for the time being because he's got a long 3-word name. Sorry. Yeah. So basically, the film is almost impossible to describe the plot. Just know that John David Washington is the protagonist. This is a film that deals with time inversion, where things in our past, in our present, have come back from the future. They're traveling backwards in time, and there is a big kind of World War III event that's happened that we're trying to stop. You don't know much about it. You know as much as the protagonist in the film. And yeah, you just kind of go along with it. So really, it's impossible to spoil this film because you just won't understand it. I could tell you what happens at the end, but then you'll be already asking 20 other different questions. So yeah, the little I tell you, the more about how it felt, how I experienced it is probably the best way to kind of approach this. He's known as the protagonist through the film, but he just carries it. He's really good. He's a really solid lead. Everything he does is to help you. He's kind of like the Ellen Page in Inception character and the main character. So he's leading the story, but he's also asking questions at the same time. So you really got to attach to him, and you do. Kenneth Branagh, he's done like an overdone Russian in the past, but this one he's kind of subdued, and it really works really well. He's a good kind of villain, but really everything is in service of the story and the plot and the main concept of time inversion, things traveling forward and backwards. As you see it on the like, there are so many scenes in this film that are so hard to grapple with. Like, you'll see it and you won't really understand what's happening. There's one person moving forward in time and one person moving backward in time, and they're both doing their actions normally, but together it just doesn't make sense, and I don't know how he filmed it. This is more puzzling than anything in Inception because it's merging two realities, and it just goes by so fast. This film is at such a pace. It goes for 2.5 hours, and you won't feel it at all. And I know this probably should have been a 3-hour film or something like that. He's cut little bits here. He's possibly told people to talk really quickly just so we can get the story going on and on. And also there's a point in the middle of the film, I would say, or maybe just towards the end, where the film turns to a degree. It has another element is introduced, and it just makes the film pick up even more. So everything about this film is thrilling. It's such a brilliant idea. I think Christopher Nolan must be from the future or something like that, to think of these concepts and to put it on film for us to understand. Yes, there's a lot of details that get left on the path, as they're going, he just kind of says, we don't need any big emotional pull. We just need, these people have to save the world. They're going to it. Everything is for that. Some details, you'll be left going, wait, who said that? Who said that? I have to say, the humor in this is not that great. In fact, it's almost got no time for humor. There's some jokes in it, but they're just so flippant and so ill-serving. It's just like, don't worry about the jokes. Just worry about the main concept. Here we go. We're on this train. Don't get left behind. You have to keep a hold of what's the situation, what's going on, who's going where. The couple of main questions that will be popping through your head throughout this film are who, what, how, and why. Like, every situation that those few questions will pop up, and you've got to quickly find the answers to them before you can keep going with the film, because it just travels at such a pace, and it can be a bit hard to follow because you need to pick up on basically every word. If you go to the toilet during this film, you will be lost. You will basically have ruined your whole ticket that you bought. You need to pay attention to every single word here, every single thing that goes on, every little detail that flies by. I mean, I got it. I just didn't get it perfectly. And I don't know if it's ever going to be perfect. I don't know if we watch it in a couple of weeks' time and go, actually, this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't add up, and this doesn't add up. Who cares? This film is about an experience. It's about dealing with these high concepts in a thrilling fashion, and it succeeds. It is Nolan back to his best. I have to say, I've got a couple of quirks, but they're not to do with anything major. They're just little directing things with Nolan where I thought, why'd you do that? Like, there's a point in the film where a guy chokes out another guy, and the actor that is getting choked out just gives up so easily, and it just doesn't seem real. It's like, he just puts his arm around his neck and he's like, oh, okay, I'm getting choked out, and he falls down. I just thought, that's bad acting. Come on, you can do that scene again. Or just little details like that where, I don't know, maybe Nolan just knew the film was going to be traveling at such a pace that he's treating them like projections in Inception, where they don't really matter, these extra characters. All that matters are the main characters that you see on the screen. So I would have liked a bit more attention to detail to those little things. But otherwise, it's shot in film. It looks fantastic. I mean, I've never thought that Nolan was the best cinematographer or voyeur, or the images that he shows, but it's not the framing, it's what's happening that is so gripping and so unbelievable. That is what his forte is, things traveling backwards in time, or things rotating and gravity being thrown around. I mean, that's what he's good at, and that's what he's really pushed the button here. He's not always the greatest with spectacle. I mean, he does deal in spectacle, but he doesn't always show it, and there are some scenes where I wish he was just a bit more stylish, Nolan. He's just too practical. He films the action and then moves on. There are no slow motion gunshot throwing a guy through the window and all this kind of visual spectacle like a Zack Snyder would. He just kind of presents the ideas and then films them, and it's serviceable. It's really good. It's obviously mind-blowing stuff still, but there is a part of me that kind of wishes that he kind of just said, look, you've got this new kind of idea, maybe you could film it this way and it'll look really cool for just a little scene, and then we move on. But obviously there's probably not enough time. It's a bullet train of ideas and concepts and action. It's great. Also, the soundtrack is not Hans Zimmer, but it's almost better than Hans Zimmer. It's got that same feel, that same rush, and there's drums that are just pecking in it, and it just, it acts like it really gets your heart racing. It's really good for the action. I mean, you'll hear it in the first opening scene where it's kind of set in this opera house, and as soon as that soundtrack kicks in, you're like fully on board. You're like, oh yes, this is a Nolan film. This is how he does his action. It's thrilling and heart pumping. It puts you into that mood, and I love it. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack does so much for this film, and it's got all these kinds of whirring and digital sounds. It's a really exciting soundtrack and complements the film so well. I really like that and the look of it. But as you know, this film is still about the writing, the concept, and the story, and all this stuff does a great job of servicing that. I can see why he wants people to see this in the cinema. He doesn't want to dull the experience because he's put a lot into this film, and maybe at such a pace that things got left by. Those looking for an emotional pull, I mean, there are little emotional strings here. and I have to say he doesn't put too much emphasis on them, but it's all in service of the story, not of the emotions or the characters that you want to grapple onto. It's all the story, and that's where the strength of this film is, and I can see why he's done that. So don't go into this film. I've heard some bad reviews where people are going, well, I didn't feel anything through. I don't know about the characters. This is not a film about that. Not every film has to be about the characters. It doesn't have to be about feeling something. Some movies are just about the experience, and this is it. And it's a great experience. It's very similar to Inception, possibly even better than Inception in some ways, although I do still consider Inception to be Christopher Nolan's masterpiece. He'll probably never make a film better than that one. But this one, I don't know. I am just so floored by it. I finished it in the cinema, and I looked around to the few others that were there, and everyone was just kind of like grappling with the idea of like what just happened. It just ends, and you're still thinking about it, you'll still be thinking about it once you walk out of there. And yeah, all I'm thinking about now is my second viewing. I don't know when to see it, like straight away or maybe wait a week and go see it. But yeah, Tenet is an amazing film. It is one that is hard to understand, and you will need to sit by every detail, but a fulfilling one and a thrilling one, and will possibly make you smarter and more, I don't know, to think that this thing could actually exist in time is quite a scary thought. But yeah, it's just a brilliant film. Also, Robert Pattinson, we've just seen him in the Batman trailer. He's awesome in this. Really liked his performance, and you can tell that he's kind of channeling a bit of Christopher Nolan. There's always a character that I feel Nolan puts himself in, and I feel that he's done that with Robert Pattinson and DiCaprio and whoever, some of the other leads, Christian Bale, that he's done in the past. But yeah, wow, this is an amazing film, amazing feat in filmmaking. It's really, as I say, pushed the bar and raised concepts and just ideas of how we can put what we can do with film. As I said before, don't think of this as like a heartfelt, he got her in the end or anything like that. It's more about the thrills, the ideas, the concepts, and just a brilliant 2.5 hours of your time. Like I said, encourage people to go see it. I know this is during the COVID pandemic, and a lot of people are scared to go into the cinemas. So, I'd say exercise a bit of caution. I didn't see anyone wearing face masks where I went to, and I'm in Australia. But I don't know. This is almost a film to get COVID for. I really, really enjoyed it. I know people are going to hate this film just because they can't understand it. But if you're smart enough, or you think you're smart enough, you'll give it a go. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I really think this is Nolan. This is Nolan really throwing a whole handbag of concepts at us and just hoping that we catch it. He's not treating the audience like they're dumb. He's almost treating the audience as if they're super smart, which is great. I love a challenge. I love a intelligence-based kind of film that's going to make me grapple with ideas, and this is it. So, 5 out of 5 for me. Really, really great film. Easily the best film of the year. Maybe the best film of the last 5 years, or even maybe the best film of the last decade. I don't know. It's out of the sea of absolutely mundane and average and meh films we've been seeing, this is just a beacon of light way above it. It is so original, and I don't even know how he came up with the concepts and let alone how he put it into a film that we can digest and just rack our brains over. So yeah, an unmissable experience at the cinema. I would see it now. I would not see it at home. This is not a streaming movie. It would ruin it if you watched it at home. This is one you've got to just be in a box and watch it straight away. Because if you watch it at home, you'd be rewinding and fast forwarding and going back. It would just dull and mute the whole idea of it. So go see it in the cinema. That's my final point. But it's fantastic. Nolan's back. Nolan's back, baby.